schools, and the issues that led to different opinions about methodology and what can be done and what cannot be done, and how we know a certain opinion to be true, and so forth. Now, one of the things that we will talk about today also is how did the great Sheikh phenomenon tie in with political chaos? Okay, we won't talk about that right now, but this is a thing that grew naturally out of the social psychology of people related to the Prophet. Even if everything had gone well, there had never been a civil war, then we would have seen this in some way or another. The Prophet was extremely authoritative. He wasn't just a radio or a transmitter. He was an awesome human being, and the people who took from him holistically. They took from him holistically, and they also became awesome human beings who were regarded with great reverence and awe because of their relationship to him. Okay, but when you have that phenomenon there originally anyway, and then you have civil war, which comes with Uthman when he's killed, and then you have the death of Ali, and then you have other civil wars, the death of Hussein and so forth, this exacerbates the situation. And the effect of it will be that the great Sheikh is even greater. The authority here is even more authoritative. Okay, so this is a very important thing to keep in mind. But I think that Brokaup's theory is one that is much more productive. This is a person who really is looking at what is happening in the text and trying to put it together. Okay, now, another thing that I just want to, I don't know if we should take time with this, but let's just mention it. Maybe it will be of some service to us later on. But one of the things that has been pointed out by Western historians, especially when they compare the Islamic world to the Western world, is that one of the dominant sociologies of Islam is the sociology of contractualism. And they oppose that to the sociology of corporation. Now, Western sociology tends to be corporative, especially in the Middle Ages. And Islamic social psychology is overwhelmingly contractual. What does that mean? Again, when we say that we have corporativeness, don't understand that, don't be misled by thinking of the modern corporation. The modern corporation is much more complex. We're talking here about institutions like, let's say, the Roman Catholic Church, or the Kingship of England, or the head of the guild in something in London. Corporativism is a culture of established institutions, when legitimacy is determined by your getting that position in the right way. So if you want to be the King of England, you've got to be what? You've got to be the son of a particular man or woman, the king or the queen. And you can't be like the third or fourth if the first one is there. And you don't have to necessarily be competent. Prince Charles may or may not be, but he's in line, that's it. You could get a king who's a dunce. You could get a king who's like 3 years old. You could get a king who's insane. But he is the rightful king, right? He's got it, and you have to obey him. His legitimacy is in the office, and in the fact that he gets in that office the right way. The same thing would be true about the bishop, or the pope, or the head of the guild. Of course, you have different ways of designating the people. But this is corporativism. And this is what made up feudal Europe. So it's not necessarily a good thing, because of the fact that ability is often not very important in it. It's like who you are, whose son you are, what tribe you come from, what class you come from. But in the Islamic world, we developed a social psychology that was highly individualistic, often to a fault. It was highly individualistic. And again, you have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But the great Sheikh paradigm is one that fits into the contractualism that's at the very root of Islamic culture. So this is something really important to keep in mind. Some people say the Sufi tariqah, the Sufi master, and his way with his followers, that's also contractualism. There are a lot of things like that. The Ottomans tried to deal with this. The Ottomans had very interesting ways, because the Ottomans wanted to get something that was much more institutional. And in fact, modern society, in the good aspects of it, combines both. So you have meritocracy. Meritocracy that, like, okay, we don't care if you're from an immigrant past, but you know, if you can get the job done, you can be the CEO. Well, maybe not the CEO, but you can be next to him, right? So this is what we call meritocracy, right? And meritocracy is contractualism, except that when it's disembodied from institutions, it can be problematic. It can lack legitimacy. But in any case, we just point that out there. And these are, some people say it's manifested even in the architecture. If you take the architecture of a Muslim mosque with, let's say, for example, the arabesque, the beautiful arabesque designs everywhere, people say that is an artistic expression of contractualism. Because every piece is basically equal to every other, and you could take it out of here and you could put it over there. There's no hierarchy. Whereas if you take a European cathedral, a Gothic cathedral from the Middle Ages, there's a distinctive hierarchy, which is like the hierarchy that's in the society itself. You can't take one part and put it someplace else without destroying the whole thing.